Hello, everyone. Let's see. Is my mic working? Yes. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, so it sounds like Facebook is being a little weird and not telling people that I'm going live, which is cool. So, hello, wonderful people. So interesting. Okay, so wonderful, wonderful. We're getting things set up here. I'll take down my little banner over here. So today I thought we would just do a really chill and also laid back, thought we'd do a really chill and laid back Q&A today. Just keep it casual. It's been I feel like it's only Wednesday. Don't correct me because I have no idea what day it is, but it's been a long week already. Hey from Brazil. Hello. Hello. Oh, look at all these wonderful people here. Hello. I've got, I'm streaming here on Instagram. I'm streaming here on YouTube and Facebook. So hello. Hello, Caden. Hello, Timothy. Hello, Leslie. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Andrew. You're finally here to one of these. Hello, Beth from Brazil. Oh, it's been a week. I hope you're holding up okay. It's been a long week. So I'm coming to you from my office here in South Dakota. Actually went out in my car today. I was wearing my mask and everything and being a good citizen. And it was weird, but that's how we do. I think I'm one of those introverts that's actually doing pretty okay. Hello. Doing pretty okay with being in quarantine. Although I do really feel for all of the extroverts who are missing their people time. So I don't know. I feel like I'm at a slight advantage there, and I feel kind of guilty about it. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're taking good care of yourself. If you are behind on your podcast, if you are taking my podcasting course and you are behind on the course, if you are, I don't know, in any way feeling anxious and stressed and like you're trying to outrun an avalanche, that's normal. I think most of us are feeling something like that right now. And B, you don't have to feel that way. It's okay. Let's see. Kaden says, it has been a long week. Yes. Kevin says, I just finished my finals ad project. Still got stuff to do, but you're at the home stretch. Good. Went out to the park, so too many people, but it was all right. And also, you think you forgot how to relax. Yes, I understand. And I feel like this is one of those things we talk about wanting to podcast full time or wanting to create full time and having that be our dream job. But then, and this is, I don't know, if you've experienced this, let me know. This is something that I didn't know existed until I landed in the middle of it. And it's going to sound really first world problems, but there's just really no way to offset that. But how do you relax when the thing that you used to do to relax? So, I'll give you an example in a second. So what do you do to relax when the thing you used to do to relax is now your full-time job? I left my full-time paying job with its steady paycheck in April 2017. My 3-year anniversary of being self-employed. I missed it. Oh, I missed my 3rd year of being self-employed. Well, congratulations to me. And yeah, it's been very, very strange making the transition to podcasting as a hobby to podcasting full time. And, part of that is I used to come home from a long day at work And on the days that I had enough energy to work on passion projects, I would sit down and just lose myself in like writing my novel or working on the Right Now podcast, which is the show I was working on while I was employed full time. And oh, thank you. Kaden says congrats. Thank you. um, so yeah, so I you know, ended up in a place where I went from, coming home from a long day at the office and dealing with clients and being in a very like high pressure space to come home, work on my passion projects and like really lose myself in that and feel really free there, which was really, um, I don't know, it was a really great place to lose myself. And a very interesting thing happened, and it was contrary to my expectation. And so my expectation was that when I was podcasting full time, it would just be like fun all the time. It would be relaxing all the time. And part of that expectation came from my assumptions. Um, Part of that expectation came from um, Instagram, which I feel weird saying part of that expectation came from Instagram because at the time, I was following other writers on Instagram and people who had left their day job to like freelance write and write full time and ghostwrite and all of that stuff. And, oh, good afternoon, Jajraj. Oh, and Beth says, it seems like you've made a great choice. Thank you. I love working for myself, but it is very hard. Kevin says, oh, Sarah, Instagram is a lie. Well, so I was following all of these writers and bookstagrammers, I guess. I'm not cool, so I don't know the lingo. But I was following these people, and just every day they would post these like beautiful desks with like a beautiful latte or a little scone with a bite out of it, and then like pages and pages of their amazing inspired writings. And that is what, I initially set my expectation on for what it would be to work full time for myself, to work creatively on my own projects for a living. And as Kevin says, Instagram is a lie. Working for yourself is weird. I almost don't know how to talk about it because it's very paradoxical. It's simultaneously a lot of different things, and those things are often very contradictory. And so, do I love what I do? Yes. Am I the happiest I've ever been? Yes. Am I more stressed than I've ever been? Yes. Am I working more and longer hours than I ever have? Yes. Like, so it's you know, there's this saying, and and you've heard it probably. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's not correct in any way. Well, those of you who write or podcast for fun, you know that podcasting is a lot of hard work. Like, you know this. I know you know this. Because in our group, we talk about like, hey, I just, edited 16,000 hours of, screaming and I just, my eyes are all bloodshot because I've been monitoring these tracks and I've been doing this and this, and it is hard. It's hard work. I mean, it's work that I love. And so maybe what that saying is saying, if you will, the saying that says, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Maybe what they're like trying to say is, if you love what you do, you won't hate your life. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Or maybe they're equating the word work. Hello, friends. Maybe they're equating the word work with maybe they're making a distinction between pleasant work and unpleasant work, or work that you are obligated to do and work that you choose to do. So being self-employed and creating full-time, I choose this work and I will consistently choose this work over and over again. But it's work, and make no mistake that it's work. Make absolutely no mistake that it is work. And it's a very different kind of work. Timothy says the cake is a lie, which is awesome because I treated myself this week, going back to what Kevin was saying earlier about not knowing how to relax, and which is what got me going on this topic in the first place. I played the first Portal game. I'm right at the part, I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it's literally one of the best games. Well, it's one of my favorite games. I won't be like super objective about it, but subjectively, it's one of my favorite games. I just got to the part when like the wall panels are starting to come out and you're like, ooh, and you like go in the back and there's like creepy writing and handprints on the walls. And oh, what a fantastic, what a fantastic game. But yes, those shiny corporate promises, they are but lies. As I sip from my mug here, yes, this is decaf. I have kept up. I've kept up my streak of 1 caffeinated cup of coffee a day, and it's been working very nicely. But let's go back real quick to talking about this whole work and hobby thing. Because I know a lot of people watching the stream. I know a lot of people in the Seriously Successful Podcasters group on Facebook. I know a lot of us, a lot of you, have that as your goal one day. If that's your goal one day, let me know in the comments. If your goal one day is to podcast full time and make a full-time income from your show, let me know in the comments. So I'm getting some good comments here. So Takara says, I decided to start writing full-time after graduation. It was the better decision for me. Yes. Yeah, it'll always be a good decision for somebody. Yes. Leslie says, the way I see it, I prefer doing podcast paperwork to day job paperwork, but it's still paperwork. Exactly. Every job has dull admin stuff like that. Absolutely. I was filing my state taxes today and getting in, making a nice chunky tax payment today. And I was like, these are the things I do because I love my business. Oh yeah. Jizraj says, and sorry, his comments is going to like cover me up to my eyeballs here, but I love it. That's fine. Jizraj says, during the first year, editing was really easy because I didn't have the ability to multi-track. So all the audio was on one track. Yes. And I perfected the settings on it. And then I would fall asleep while listening to it to edit for content and then wake up when it was done playing. Oh, that's awesome. But now I have everyone on a separate track and I have to remove silence manually. So now I actually have to pay attention. Yes, it is a lot of work. So let's see, Andrew Coons is a poet and a photographer and a videographer and probably a million other things. Andrew was one of the very first listeners to the Right Now podcast. And Andrew, I owe you a lot. So thank you for coming tonight. But Andrew says, podcast, original content creation, full-time, someday, slow going. It is slow going. And yeah, make no mistake, it is absolutely slow going. People talk about making the leap and like, oh, I'm looking forward to the day when I make the leap, or like I quit my day job and I just like slam face first into creating full time, or, doing what I love full time, whether that's, baking or doing sculpture or what have you. It's slow and it's not a leap. It's more like a slow and steady walk up an incline. So like you get from here to here, but instead of like doing it really quickly and like a Superman leap, you're kind of like very slowly and cautiously walking up this ramp. Yeah, Kaden says, that's my goal. I would love to do this full time, but I don't know where to start though. Okay. Jimmy says, a podcast where people can hear my stories. Heck yes. Yes, absolutely. So we're gonna, I think we're gonna talk about this a little bit tonight. Is part of making that leap is sort of protecting yourself in advance. And what I mean that in a number of ways, financially, and I get into a little bit of this in my podcast now course, which you can see the little logo here. Those of you who are watching on Facebook and YouTube, part of it is about making sure that you have an infrastructure in place, like financial, insurance wise, all of that stuff, so that you can support yourself creatively when you need to. Yeah. Timothy says Mount Everest is an incline. Yes, it is. But this is like way easier than Everest. Like, I did this. I couldn't climb Everest, but I did leave my day job to podcast full time and to create full time. So I do want to make clear that podcasting is not all I do. So I do a lot of other things as well. And again, this is something I talk about in my course, but I talk about diversifying your income streams. And so having not just one income stream. And so I feel like this is getting into the weeds a little bit. But if you were here for the live stream where I showed you my business plan for either 2019 or 2020, I think it was 2020. I showed you my business plan, and it had all those like spokes and circles and stuff of all the different income streams coming off of my projected income number. It was like Girl in Space, which brings in this amount of money, the Right Now podcast, which brings in this amount of money, merch sales, which bring in this amount of money, ghostwriting projects, which bring in this amount of money. I used to create, design, and build websites. And so that was that amount of money. I do podcast consulting and marketing consulting, and that brings in that amount of money. And then I have, I have my course, which brings in this amount of money. And so, yes, Kate, yeah. So for me, I say I create full time, and I do, but it's just like different aspects of podcasting and creating full time that bring in different avenues of income. So like Kaden says, for me, I want to work for myself, and I would like podcasting to be a part of it. Yes, that is also exactly what I wanted. But what happens when you expect something and you get something else? So for me, like I was saying earlier, if you're just now joining us, earlier I was talking about, I used to come home from work and I would unwind or really get my fulfilling creative stuff done for the day after I'd put in my day at the office. And what happens then when your day at the office is your creative work? I think that I want to say this really carefully because not everything is right for everyone. I want to start by saying that, like Takara just mentioned in the comments a little bit earlier, like writing was the only thing I could do after graduation. And yes, so everybody's story and situation is going to be different. But there's stories of oh my gosh, I'm gonna blank on his name. It's not Pablo Neruda, who wrote the poem about the plum in the icebox. Oh, this is gonna murder me. William Carlos Williams. Thank you. I don't know if anybody typed that or anything, but it just came to me. So William Carlos Williams was a poet, so he got to work on his creative stuff, but he was also a medical doctor. And in between seeing patients, he would scribble out poems. And that worked for him. Sorry, all of my literary knowledge is flying out of my brain right when I need it. Who is the, oh my gosh, who is the really brilliant, Like I said, it's been a long week. I'm not going to remember his name. That's okay. There was also a very famous and prolific and brilliant writer who was an insurance salesman. And he would go to work and then he would come home and he would do his creative stuff. And that was his balance. Like that was his work-life balance. And that was what worked well for him. And so for some people, leaving your full-time job completely to create full-time is a good idea. Like for me, it was a good idea. I was not happy in a corporate workplace. I was not challenged enough. I didn't have the autonomy I wanted. I didn't have the voice I wanted. So like for me, I knew it was the right choice. But it's maybe not the right choice for everybody. If you find that you enjoy a steady income, if you enjoy, having benefits, if you're not certain that you can make all those income streams happen, sometimes it's okay to, keep your day job. It doesn't mean you're less of a podcaster or less of a creator. And I want to stress that very carefully because some of our greatest creators stuck with their full-time jobs and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't know how hard I can stress that. You don't become a better or more legitimate podcaster, writer, creator if you get rid of the day job. Okay, I want to like hammer that home because it's so important. Your identity as a podcaster, as a writer, as a creator, as a creative individual, you have that already. Like, even though your full-time job or your day jobs, plural, may take a lot of your energy from you, they don't get to take away the label or the title of creator. I run another Facebook group called I Am a Writer. And I named it that on purpose because so many writers feel like just because they don't write full-time or because they don't sustain themselves 100% financially on their creative work, that they're somehow not a real writer. Whew. No, that is not true. Oh, like Jimmy says, Tom Clancy owned an insurance sales business. Yeah. He made the money that he wanted to make and he created the work he wanted to create. Like, that's balance. That's fantastic. I have a friend who is a podcaster who works full-time, and we were having a conversation the other day, and he was like, is it weird if I don't want to leave my job? Because he makes very good money. And I was like, no, as long as you can fit in your full-time job and have time for yourself and have balance and create the creative work that you want to create, which is a mouthful, then you're doing just fine. There's no expectation that you have to quit your day job in order to call yourself a professional podcaster. There's this false separation between hobbyist or amateur creators and professional creators. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I know that if I said that in another group or in another place, I would get some very angry people saying otherwise. And maybe you're very angry because I said that, but I don't think that we need to say who's in the club and who's not in the club, because we all work hard and we're all creating important art. Right? Oh, I like this. Kareem says, agreed. Professionalism is an attitude and a commitment to quality. Amen. Yes, absolutely. Professionalism is an attitude and a commitment to quality. I love that. Absolutely. You don't have to quit your day job to be a professional podcaster or a professional creator or a professional writer or a professional voice actor, whatever it is that you want to do. Now, that being said, if you do want to leave your day job to, start your own business and to podcast full time, I think that's awesome. And I think you should do it. If you feel like that is the right move for you, then I think that you should go ahead and do it. For me, it was definitely the right move. And for me, I even waited a little long. I overstayed my welcome in corporate America. And I maybe stayed a little bit longer than I should have. So I'm going to I've been getting a lot of really fantastic comments here. Raj says, anyone, and again, I'm going to get cut off here. Anyone looking into podcasting as a career definitely needs to know it's unlikely, right, that they're going to make 100% of their income from their podcast, right? But it's a great part. But a great part of that is the skills you develop from podcasting translate, yes, to a lot of other stuff. Oh, right, because I forgot public speaking is one of my income generators, especially networking and unwittingly and unintentionally becoming a social media guru. Exactly. Yeah, that's a fantastic I almost said a fantastic website when I meant a fantastic insight. So maybe I do need caffeinated coffee at night. Yeah, Timothy says, even though I have a full story outlined, it still takes me an hour or so to push out a single page of script. Yeah, it's hard work and it takes time. Kevin asks, would you say that full-time podcasters are sort of detached from the cyclical nature of our economy? Ooh, ho ho. Oh, wow. What an interesting question. Oh my gosh. I'm completely unprepared to answer this question, but it's so interesting. So it's interesting. So ever since the COVID-19 hit, ever since the quarantine hit, my Patreon patrons for Girl in Space have increased. Now, I can't say that that's 100% tied to the economy because I also just recently released a new mini series for Girl in Space called Prelude to Mutiny that was available just for Patreon patrons, right? So it's correlation and causation not really meeting up right here. My course sales for my Podcast Now Masterclass course have also gone up. I've made more sales now that people maybe have some time to start their podcast or have some time and income to use toward that. Yeah. So Kevin's saying, does the recession affect you? That's such a complicated question. And I know that we've been in like a recession. We've been in quarantine for what feels like a really long time, but I haven't noticed that it's been a long enough time to like say with certainty, oh, I think I just flipped my camera around here. Let's just flip that back. I tried waving at someone on Instagram and that didn't work. Oh, and Poddex is here. I have to show you. I got my little Poddex here with me, which I'm going to be breaking out in a later thing. So does the recession affect you? So the recession has been affecting, because in a recession, more people might be listening to podcasts because podcasts are free, right? So maybe they'll listen to podcasts instead of spending $60 on an audiobook or their Audible subscription. But at the same time, now that we're in this quarantine, fewer people are taking mass transit, right? And fewer people are driving to work because they're working from home. And so people have noticed a little bit of a dip or a plateau in their listener numbers. And so I feel like there's so many factors going on here. I think what you're asking is, Sarah, is what you're doing recession proof? The answer is, I don't know. Because more than anything else, like with your full-time employment, furloughs and quarantines aside, you can rely on something that's very steady. But for me, the only steady factor in my process, in my whole business, is me. And so if I get sick and I have to take a week off, guess what? If Sarah doesn't create stuff, Sarah doesn't get paid. If Sarah takes a day off, Sarah doesn't get paid that day, right? And I get that from both direct and indirect income from all of my different income streams. And so if you look at what those different factors are, so like in a recession, if one of the things that's helping you stay afloat as a professional creative is, selling a very expensive course, maybe fewer people take that course. But if you break up the course and offer it as lots of little mini courses and have people pay for those might go up. Right now during a quarantine, I'm not getting any paid speaking gigs. And so that's down. But again, my course sales are up, my merch sales are up, my Girl in Space patrons are up. And so it's a weird roller coaster. And this is, I think, one of the things you have to prepare yourself for when you work for yourself, when you start your own business, is knowing that steadiness that you can rely on with a paycheck, it really comes down to you and what you've planned, which is why earlier in the stream, I was talking about that big leap, taking the leap that's not really a leap from being employed by somebody else to being employed by yourself. What you're working on in between point A and point B is an infrastructure. So you're planning out, I recommend 6 or 7 income streams. Hello, new folks. I recommend multiple income streams if you want to support yourself doing something creative. And the reason I say that is, so say I'm making all of my money from Patreon, and I'm doing really well. And then tomorrow Patreon shuts down, or they do one of those weird things where they start charging people tax or extra, or any of the number of weird things Patreon has been known to do in the past, or declining credit cards, or whatever Patreon is doing. I don't want my livelihood to rely on a third-party platform, right? 100%. And so that's why I make some of my money on Patreon, and then I do all of those other things. So in case the Patreon thing goes away, like I'll still have to scramble to replace that income and that money, but I don't have to be like, welp, I'm going to go live in the gutter, right? So yeah, a very interesting question. Does a recession affect you if you are self-employed, if you are a creative? Yes and no. And it depends, I think, how flexible you're willing to be, how flexible your audience is, who your audience is, how wealthy your audience is. There's just, oh, hi, Joe. Joe is here. There's just so many different things to consider when you're creating full-time for yourself. Just Raj says pizza fund. Let's see. Oh, there's so many great comments here. Andrew says content creators in general do better during crisis. Like, yeah, I've been doing okay, and a lot of creatives I know have been doing okay, and yeah, but a lot of them haven't, because there's also, like I said earlier, when you're self-employed and when you are the creative engine behind your business, like I said earlier, if I get sick for a week, that's a week Sarah doesn't work. So that's a week of unplanned time off, and I don't get paid time off, right? Because that money doesn't exist in a magical little cloud somewhere, and then it rains down on me when I'm sick, which if someone wants to make that happen, please make that happen. I would love a money cloud of safety. That would be beautiful. But since you are the engine, and this is why I've become so passionate in the last few years about self-care, because if I'm similarly depressed for a week, or if I have writer's block for a week or 2 weeks or a month, if you're relying on your creativity for a full-time income and you go through a period when you can't create, it exacerbates the pressure. And so, you already feel, even when you do have sort of a slush fund of money from a full-time job, I say slush fund, it's probably, you have a little bit of safety net from a full-time income because it's going to come every 2 weeks or every month and it's reliable. And you're already feeling a pressure to create. Just imagine having that pressure be not just, I have to create because I want to write my story, or I have to create because I need to get my next podcast episode out there, but I have to create if I want to pay rent. And it changes how you feel about creativity a little bit. And yeah, it's hard. I always like to be very, very real and honest during my streams. So I've got my, so this is Girl in Space season 2. These are my ideas. And what I do when I'm writing is I lay them out all over my desk, and each one has a different idea or a plot point on it. So there's going to be a lot of juicy stuff going on in season 2. And then I handwrite the episodes. And wow, it's been weird and hard creating during a time when the world is weird and the news is depressing. And maybe the same things that I relied on before to inspire me just aren't the same or aren't working, or there's a lot going on here. So I want to back up a little bit. Self-care is really important for you if you are creating full-time, because you are the creation machine. You're the engine behind your business. And if you're not running properly, then you're going to face some very real consequences. And this is why if I have a friend, I know several friends right now who are working toward working for themselves full time, and they're doing that whole hustle thing. They're like, I got to hustle, I got to work 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 hours a week. I'll sleep when I'm dead. No, you'll burn out, and then you will have to go work somewhere that you don't want to work so that you can, eat and pay your rent and stuff. So it's so weird and important to take good care of yourself when you're a creator. So Jimmy says podcasters have a whole raft of unconventional ways to get money from people in small amounts. You don't need big company ads as such if you can get lots of contributors, right? So the majority of my donors on Patreon are of the $1 and $2 variety. Like, the people who pay me $1 a month are essentially paying for me to live and create. And that's, but you have to, in order to do that, you have to have a lot of people who are willing to do that, which is why it's so important to build up your Patreon audience, which is another talk in and of itself altogether. Yes. Takara says, I want a money cloud too, please. Money clouds for everyone. Andrew says entertainment is important during hard times and people are willing to pay for escapism. Yes, I have a friend who is a very successful writer who just did her largest month in sales and royalties. And I'm not going to tell you the amount of money she makes from writing ebooks blows my mind. It is almost 6 figures. It is, and she made that in a month. People want escapism during hard times. That is so true. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, Erik. So Erik works in medical caretaking and says working in the medical field has been depressing. Seeing people get sick and off is draining, and you feel kind of worthless. Yeah, it's so hard. Well, everything is hard. I feel like that was the theme of one of our live streams a few weeks ago. I think we just ended up saying like everything is hard. But I mean, everything is hard, but that's okay. That's part of why we create art, right? And it's so interesting because I think where I want to go with this is a lot of us get into podcasting, a lot of us get into creation and writing and all of this creative stuff because we have a story to tell. We have creative energy and we are compelled to put it out there. We are in some way, or at least this is how it is for me. If I'm not creating, then I go to a really bad place. If I'm not creating, then I get physically sick. My mental health deteriorates. I get depressed a lot more. And so it's very interesting when you get to the point where you tie your income to this thing that you do, either because you're compelled to or because you want to make the world a better place, or, insert your reason for creating here. And it gets a little convoluted. In a way, it sounds like the most brilliant thing ever. Find something that you love to do and find a way to like get people to give you money for it. Like that's the ideal in a capitalist society, right? It's to like, oh, I love doing this and people pay me to do it. Like, that's perfect. But then you get into the place where you get stuck creatively or overwhelmed creatively, and knowing that you need to rely on your creativity for money and to live makes it worse. So this comes back to the question that Kevin asked at the very, very beginning of this stream. I don't even know if it was a question so much as Kevin just saying, I don't know how to relax. I needed to relearn how to relax. I used to be sitting here with my notebook, daydreaming, doodling ideas for a story or a novel or a podcast, making fun little graphics. I started off making my graphics for the Right Now podcast in PowerPoint because I didn't know how to design anything. So I would spend my time doing that, and it was a kick. It was really fun. Got a kick out of it. But now, between the seasons, there's anxiety and there's uncertainty. And I know that unlike when I was working for a corporation and there were like layers of management above me, like many layers of management, the blame chain went up that way. And like, oh, well, our company's not doing well. I'm just down here on the totem pole. Like, let's blame the, management for making this poor decision, and human resources for overhiring, and the CEO for taking a huge bonus. And, the blame gets diluted. But when you work for yourself, the blame comes right back here. And that's something that's really hard. I work with a lot of really smart people, And part of the survival strategies that you need when you work creatively for yourself full time is a healthy support system of people who understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. I've mentioned before on these live streams that I belong to actually a couple of different mastermind groups, but then I also am friends with just a lot of small business owners, different entrepreneurs. I'm a member of different entrepreneurial communities. You need to surround yourself with people who get it. Because now that I'm on the other side of things, when I first started, I was on the Instagram looking side. I was like, how nice it would be to sit at a desk with that beautiful coffee and just create all day. When now, a day in the life is, I spend 2 hours on bookkeeping and taxes, and then I've got a call with this person, and I've got a meeting from 3 to 4 with this person. And I don't do any creative writing all day, even though that's like, what I do. I didn't get a chance to work on Girl in Space Monday or Tuesday this week, or Wednesday, I guess, because it's Wednesday, because I've got other things to do. So even when you're creating full time, like just Raj said a little bit earlier, you're not really creating full time, and it's weird. Just Raj says, the best part about having a video game podcast is that the thing I do to relax is what becomes content for the show. But so I think my question to you is, does that diminish your enjoyment of video games at all? The more I read and the more I listened to podcasts, because that used to be, and still is, one of the ways that I relax. I love reading. I love listening to podcasts. Any kind of thought-provoking media is like my jam. I've noticed now that I'm writing full time, and this has been true for years, but I'm a little bit more critical of the things I read. I'm a little bit less forgiving, and it's a little bit more difficult. I don't know if that's grammatically correct. It's a little harder to really lose myself in the story, because part of my brain, the professional part of my brain, is analyzing what's going on in this scene and how come the author made this choice and not this choice. So I don't know. Maybe that's just part of learning more about a medium, is you lose a little bit of your blind fandom, and you lose a little bit of the way it used to make you feel. I don't know. I still love podcasts, and I still love reading books, and I love watching movies. But there is something to be said about coming home from a long day at the office and having looked forward to working on your passion project all day and just diving into it, and that feeling of freedom and fulfillment. Ooh, am I getting nostalgic? No. No, it's just different. It's just different. So, Erik says, in my case, video games have proven a good escape from all of this, right? For a short time, I don't have to worry about the world and insanity, and I can shoot zombies. Yep. Or if you're me, I was talking about Portal a little bit earlier. I was playing some Portal to relax, and you can have a little gun that makes portals, and you can jump through the portals and escape your problems, and the cake is a lie. When I was first working on Girl in Space, I didn't know how to do any sort of fancy like audio design. And I used, when I was looking online for like tutorials on how to do voice treatment, I was like, okay, I need a robot sounding voice. The only thing I can think of right now is Gladys from Portal. And so I looked up on YouTube, like, how to make the Gladys voice. And it's like you like layer the track and you like make it slightly off kilter and you add an echo and you make one like pitched up and you make one pitched down. And so that's kind of what I did for Charlotte's voice in Girl in Space. Was inspired by very slightly inspired by, yeah, it's inspired by Gladys from Portal. So Timothy says life should have more pew pew. I think that's all where we are right now. we all need to be relaxing more and playing more video games and taking joy in the things that we create, which is hard to do when we take what we do so seriously and when we need to take what we do so seriously. Because what we do is how we live. I don't know. I hope this was helpful. I guess as for learning how to relax, you have to kind of remember that relaxation is not a luxury. Oh, Erik says, I'm glad I dropped in. It's been a very hard day, but they all are of late. So Erik works in healthcare. So Erik, thank you for doing the work that you're doing. I know it's really hard. Yeah, get a clean mask and we want you to be well too. So thank you for joining us tonight. Yeah, knowing and understanding that more than ever before, when you're self-employed, when you're podcasting full-time, when you're writing full-time, it's so important to rest and it's so important to relax and it's so important to take care of this and to hydrate. Because you're the moneymaker. You're the creativity engine. Speaking of hydrating, I've been talking for almost an hour, so I need to hydrate. Yeah, balance becomes very hard because the thing that you love to do is the thing that you used to do to relax, and it's now the thing you do for work. And so you kind of almost have to find new things to do to relax, which is weird and hard because you feel guilty because you're doing the thing that you love full time. Yeah, you see where this is going? It gets really like head trippy. I don't know. I struggled with that a lot at first. I remember arguing with Tim, my husband, like, he's like, Sarah, are you writing? I'm like, yeah, but I love writing and writing is how I used to relax. And so I'm not working, I'm writing and writing is fun. He's like, yeah, but you also write for your work now. And that's how I talked myself into being okay working like 12-hour days. So don't do that. Don't work 12-hour days. You need to take good care of yourself. And a burned out creator is no good to anyone. Oh, Hendo is here. Hi, Hendo. Joe says, I miss Charlotte. I miss Charlotte too, but I'm writing Charlotte. Well, I don't know. I can't tell you any spoilers. So I can't tell you if I'm writing Charlotte into season 2. So I'm just going to shut my mouth on that. Yeah, those of you who have joined us today for our Q&A live stream, I answered exactly one Q with one very long-winded weird A. But yeah, if you have a topic that you'd like me to talk about during one of these live streams, go ahead and just ask it as a question in the Seriously Successful Podcasters group on Facebook, or message me on Facebook or make a comment, or find some way to get in touch with me. I'm on Twitter all the time. Twitter's probably my favorite place to be because it's very low pressure. And that's another thing is like when you're a full-time creator, your social media game goes from being a fun distraction to like yet another email inbox of to-dos, which was very mind trippy for me as well. So just a lot going on there. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. It sounds like a lot of you are looking for a way to make your creative gig your full-time gig. And that's really exciting. Ooh, Caden says, can you do one about growing your Patreon community? Yes. I'm just gonna write that down. Patreon growth. Yes. Cool. So I have that written down for another live stream. So we'll focus on that. But yeah, any other things that you'd like me to talk about here during these live streams, I would love to do. In the meantime, I want you to remember that if you want to call yourself a hobby podcaster or an amateur podcaster, then that is 100% exactly what you can call yourself. If you want to call yourself a professional podcaster, then by all means, call yourself a professional podcaster. One of the things that I'm really passionate about in podcasting is that there's no gatekeepers. And I want to keep it that way. And I want to give you the permission and the freedom to say, I'm a podcaster. And I proudly claim that title. And nobody can tell you that you're not a podcaster. Nobody gets to do that. Nobody gets to tell you who you are except for you. So, I don't know. I want to leave you with that. Just Rush says, I'm an extra medium podcaster. I have no idea what that means. I'm well done, maybe. I'm a rare podcaster. And yeah, we were talking about growing your Patreon community. Timothy says, you mean someone besides my mom? Yes. We will get you patrons other than your mom. Yes, we will get you additional patrons. So yeah, I'm going to go and I might try to relax. Oh, see, I have so much to do. I've got some like audiences to reconfigure. Ugh. There's so much. A podcaster's work is never done. I've got season 2 to write. Ugh. I've got advertising for my mini series to do. I've got some tweaks to make in my course. But you know what? Those things are all easily done tomorrow. Because self-care is important and rest is important. Relaxation is important. It's not a luxury and it's not something you don't deserve. These are important things that you need to function at your best. I learned this through several years of burnout and terribleness. I'm really good at being terrible to myself. So what I want to leave you with is you're fantastic. And I hope that you're doing well. If you have questions, if you have more topics that you'd like me to address in an upcoming live stream, let me know. I'm always looking for new things to talk about because I will talk about them ad nauseum. But yeah, go enjoy yourself if you can. Like, take some time for yourself this evening. If you can't do it this evening, if you're like Erik and you're working a night shift, take some time tomorrow to do something that you love that's not podcasting. Or if you never get to podcast, take some time to podcast tomorrow. I think you'll feel better because of it. So thanks for tuning in. You are wonderful, and I will see you in the Seriously Successful Podcasters Facebook group. All right. Bye for now.